What's
Oh,
up,
no, she's not
everybody?
wrong. What's up, everyone? How do you like our new intro? Do you like this song? Did you catch that volume on, anyone?
The new the new track is amazing. Seriously, it's like
It's
it's stuck in my head already.
it's stuck in my head. It is such a bop. It is such a banger for some of you who know Valley. She helped with that intro. It is straight fire.
Huge shout out to Valley and her amazing friends that were able to help us get that together. Thank you so much. It's the new DGN theme song. So good. It's so good.
It is. I need it to be my alarm
Right?
clock. I need like playing at all times whenever I need some like hype to get
Exactly.
going.
It's like, are you ready? Boop, boop, oh no.
Is this the news or is this a
Yeah, what
party
is
in
this?
here?
Oh, you missed the intro?
What?
Oh, I'm so sorry, Kane. No. No.
No. Also I figured maybe we should introduce ourselves because whenever I listen to podcasts, they always introduce
That's
themselves,
true.
even though I assume everyone knows who I am because why wouldn't I do
That's
that?
so true. Well, what's up, everybody? This is one half of Daily Gaming News. I am Marrone.
I am Kaisa. It's great to have you here on this Tuesday, August 18th.
And we've got a lot of stuff to cover today. But one of the things that we wanted to jump into before we jump into the Apple versus Epic Games and maybe this cloud gaming patent that's been discovered is the Fall Guys charity contest update.
Yeah, so for the Fall Guys charity contest that we mentioned yesterday, there's a contest to see, whatever organization donates the most money to charity will get a Fall Guys custom skin. And right now, or as of 12:54, as of about 15 minutes ago, there is a bidding war between G2 Esports and Ninja.
That's awesome. Part of me was like, I wanted these, these smaller ones to come up, and it makes sense. But I gotta be honest, I don't want to see Ninja in a Fall Guys game. And I don't know. It's nothing against Ninja. It's like we already got you in Fortnite. Let's get something else in there. I don't need to see a Ninja skin everywhere I go.
Right, a second ninja skin. So or as of 15 minutes ago, again, G2 Esports is in the lead with $203,003. Ninja had donated $200,000, and that is, to put himself way ahead of. There was a bidding war around 133,000. Some companies going back and forth. At one point, there was a bidet company that that came in with a donation, but this is racking up a ton of money. For this charity. I believe it's called Special Effect. I think by the end of this, we'll see over $1 million.
I hope so. That would be so awesome to see. And it's just this. It's one of those moments where you're like, this little small event has now blown up, and there's these huge donations pouring in, and this is going to be great for Special Effect.
Chat says there's a delay. Is that a delay in like my audio or something?
I don't know.
Do you notice any delay?
I don't see one.
We don't see one. Let us know exactly what that delay is. Audio delay.
I am not too sure.
Is there any way? Should I hop in? Should I do my audio via Discord call? If you have an audio output capture, maybe just my video would be through Zoom.
It's not on me, which is interesting. I'm not too sure.
My audio and my video is not synced.
Wow, that's weird.
Should I leave and rejoin the Zoom call? Oh, I'm hosting and I can't leave it.
Oh, you are hosting.
On plays in video. Is it unbearable? Should we keep going or do you want to troubleshoot?
I mean, we can troubleshoot it. I'm not too sure. How what's happening. Nothing's been changed. That's the part about this, and it's so weird sometimes. Is literally nothing's been changed. It's just the same every time.
Okay, I made you the host.
Okay.
I could leave and come back. It might mess up your capture of how you're on the screen right now. If you want to go back to the starting soon,
let's do it. We're gonna figure this out real quick, guys.
Okay, give us a second. We'll be right back.
All right,
All right.
we're back. Is the delay still
We're
there?
back. Does it work now? Zoom, help
Zoom,
us.
what are you doing?
Oh no. We'll wait a second to see what chat says. Let's see. I think this is our first show with technical difficulties, which is good. It's kind of impressive. It's not fixed.
It really is. Like, that's a thing that I want to just take a moment and be like, hey, we've championed through the first 2 months without any technical problems whatsoever.
I guess we'll just power through it. If the delay isn't too horrible, I think it might be a Zoom thing. My mic is the same as always.
Yeah, could be a Zoom thing.
Not sure.
Just hear the news gamers. Do you think there's an issue via OBS? But none of this has been touched, and I'm afraid to
I don't
adjust
think so.
anything.
I doubt it.
Let's just dive in and go through it. Maybe it'll fix itself. Maybe it's actually an issue just via Twitch in the stream right now. I don't know.
Maybe,
because on my end you look perfectly fine. It just, once it transitions over to Twitch, it's like nope.
Yeah.
So let's go ahead and dive into our first topic for the day, which is talking about Apple versus Epic Games as this continues to get juicy.
The feud keeps going as Apple says to Fortnite developer Epic Games, we will terminate your developer account.
So in suspected retaliation for Epic's recent 1980 Fortnite stunt and trying to dig a hole under Apple's walled garden in order to bypass their payment system, a new statement was issued by Epic Games that claims that Apple will terminate all of their developer accounts.
Apple recently issued the following statement to The Verge, addressing the steps they are taking following Epic Games' recent attempts to circumvent the App Store's payment processes and allow players to directly purchase V-Bucks for their free-to-play title, Fortnite.
Hey, thank you for the follow, Johnny. Welcome, welcome. So today, Epic Games took the unfortunate step of violating... Epic Games did take that fortunate step of violating the Apple Store guidelines that are applied equally to every developer and designed to keep the store safe for their users. As a result, their Fortnite app has been removed from the store. Epic enabled a feature in its app which was not reviewed or approved by Apple, and they did this so with the expressed intent of violating the App Store guidelines regarding in-app payments that apply to every developer who sells digital goods or services.
The Apple statement continues, Epic has had apps on the App Store for a decade and have benefited from the App Store ecosystem, including its tools, testing, and distribution that Apple provides to all developers. Epic agreed to the App Store terms and guidelines freely, and Apple says, we're glad they've built such a successful business on the App Store, which sounds very tongue-in-cheek to me. They continue, the fact that their business interests now lead them to push for a special arrangement does not change the fact that these guidelines create a level playing field for all developers and make the store safe for all users, which I think is questionable. Apple continues, we will make every effort to work with Epic to resolve these violations so they can return Fortnite to the App Store. So
a recent tweet came out from Epic Games' newsroom Twitter account, and it makes it sound like the situation has not been resolved amicably, and these quote-unquote violations regarding the payment system that Fortnite suddenly implemented last week still are the cause for concern between these $2 billion juggernauts.
And this does not bode well for fans that have been following the Fortnite saga over the past week, as we have, and still want to play the free-to-play Battle Royale title on an Apple device. Not sure why you're playing Fortnite mobile, but it sucks that you can't. If Apple follows through on their claims, this could mark the end of Fortnite on iPad, not to mention any further development of Epic Games titles and software on iOS and Mac OS for the foreseeable future.
You know, I feel like there's a lot of commentary that the people suffering this whole situation are the gamers right now. And while I get that in the short term, it makes me wonder actually if the long term we aren't suffering, because I would love to see a real change come from this whole, event that's taking place between these two.
Me too. I really hope the lawsuit goes through. I think this is for good. Personally, I don't think it's, so sad people can't play Fortnite mobile. Oh, this is so sad it was removed from the App Store. Like, no, this is like this is like a rebellion on Epic's part to say like, hey, Apple, your App Store policies are absolutely ridiculous. We think they're monopolistic. You know, you're supporting these microtransactions. You're taking too big of a cut. You're taking 30%, which is a ton. And we're not okay with this, and we don't think it should be legal. I personally think Epic Games is fighting the good fight.
Yeah,
here.
I think so too. And I feel like a lot of people have been paying attention to just kind of the approach that Apple has taken. If we look, Microsoft condemned Apple not too long ago with regard to the issue with the xCloud not being able to be tested with iOS. So there's a lot going on in that regard where I think Apple's already been doing some stuff that a lot of these major players have been a little unnerved by. And now finally Epic's like, yeah, we're not going to be like you guys and just kind of like not do anything about it. We're going to do something about it.
Right. And, you know, to kind of go into the TikTok and security conversation, like, I don't know how much say Apple is supposed to have. I don't know how hard it's supposed to vet its applications to make sure there's no kind of like spying on you or, you know, doing insidious things to your phone that shouldn't be done. But when Apple says the App Store is safe, I'm thinking, okay, then why are you allowing apps that might secretly track my data and my location and send those back even though I don't want to? You know, there's no reason some of these apps should have some of that data. I don't feel like I'm being kept safe by the App Store. You know, maybe they're doing a lot behind the scenes, but you know, from a consumer perspective, I don't feel like, you know, the App Store is the ultimate place to go for my safe apps that won't take advantage of my data, that won't hack anything, that won't try to spam me with microtransactions and a bunch of ads that lead to a bunch of sketchy websites.
That's so true. And what's really interesting is actually our next story, because this might be the cause for all of this drama that's been going on. As there was something discovered recently around Apple, specifically with themselves getting into cloud gaming.
Which is kind of no surprise, you know, because today a new patent for cloud gaming service has been published by Apple. This patent was published in Europe and mentioned, quote, enabling interactive service for cloud rendering gaming in 5G system. And this kind of ties into our whole conversation about xCloud, Microsoft's and Xbox's cloud gaming service not being allowed on Apple. I'm not surprised to hear that Apple is coming out with its own cloud gaming service.
Yeah, me neither, because this message means that there will be an interactive cloud gaming in the upcoming 5G phones that are set to be released in October, and the patent actually has a few details, so we should hear them out.
They said, quote, the game is stored, executed, and rendered on a remote server, and the video results are streamed directly to the computing device, the patent description reads. This allows users to access games without regard to the capability of the user's computing device, as the remote server is responsible for storing, executing, and rendering the game. As chat says, I can't with the cloud. They're just copycats. No one asked for this. No one asked for cloud gaming on Apple, but here we are.
And so it actually goes even into a little bit more detail, which is that the controls and button presses from the user's computing devices are then transmitted to the servers where they're recorded, and the server sends them back to the game's response to the input controls. Current 5G systems lack that capability to provide interactive services for cloud rendering gaming in efficient and optimal manners.
Other than this, Apple has also found a solution to numerous known problems that are associated with cloud gaming, apparently. So we can now understand why they weren't allowing other cloud game services in their store. At first, you know, we initially thought that it was just Apple restricting people in their ecosystem, but it seems through this patent that they're making something for their users and not allowing competition. We'll see if there are any more updates to this from Apple themselves. Right now, you know, they're still in the ongoing legal battle with Epic Games and others. I am still skeptical about cloud gaming because a lot of gamers already are wondering, you know, what's the best wireless mouse that's not going to have an input lag? You know, if you're just worried about your headset and your mouse, which is right next to your PC, you know, do you trust cloud gaming to be as fast as a wired connection or having that game right on your system itself?
No, that would be my response, just based on my simple, you know, layman terms of understanding of the current internet infrastructure, is that I think you're talking a tremendous amount of lag in response time, and your refresh rate. I'm very interested to see how that will be updated. Now, there actually have been some early reports about people using xCloud, and they've been expressing how surprised they've been that it's super fluid. Whether Apple can turn around and do the same thing or not is left to be said and to be seen. But I will say this doesn't surprise me with all of this drama that they're having issues with a competitive cloud gaming service as they jump into that market. And Apple does seem like the kind of place where they do want to make sure that those gates are put up so that they can't have competition. And when you come to the Apple store, maybe you can only get this specific experience here.
Right. I love how Valley says no one ever asks for anything from Apple. We just happen to get it. That's how I feel. Maybe I'm just not diehard Apple enough, but I don't want Apple TV. I don't want Apple Arcade. I don't need Apple Cloud Gaming.
Yeah.
You know, I don't need YouTube, the YouTube album like automatically installed on my iPad or whatever that whole thing was. We don't. It seems to me that they're just blocking out the competition, and that they're thinking that if they do it in-house, you know, it's going to be more profitable. It's a good investment. Everyone else is doing it, but that's not necessarily true. I mean, we saw Google try that with Stadia, and I don't think, you know, Stadia has been very successful for them. I think, I don't know why people would play games via an Apple cloud service. I think that Microsoft's xCloud is the most set up to win, really, whatever winning means, but because a lot of people already subscribe to the Game Pass, a lot of people already use Xbox, you know, if it's built in, if their network, if their friends lists are already on Xbox, I think they're more likely to, you know, use that for gaming versus like if you use your phone for like, I don't know, to check out Instagram and to text your family. I don't think that's necessarily an extension of where you might play games.
What they could see, and I'm just going to try to look at this from the opposite perspective because I share the same one you have, right? What I potentially see is that maybe their mindset is that they have a lot of users that might not be gamers. And so if they offer this service very much kind of like, because I'm trying to think, I'm like, why would you force something upon people who aren't like requesting it? And it's like, maybe they're just trying to say like, we have all these options for you. And then hopefully that will lure them in. So if they're like, Apple's got cloud gaming and you have these, you know, these titles and these partnerships that you see and the games look fun, you're like, oh yeah, I could do that. I could just play that on my phone. Maybe that's the angle that they're coming from, but the execution, I don't know if they're actually going to be able to execute. Because like you were saying, Microsoft has really positioned themselves, and especially with the Game Pass, I don't think there's a real competition that can actually be there when it comes to cloud gaming right now because of that library that Microsoft is sitting on.
Right, that's a good point. You know, maybe they're actually going after a different market or a different kind of demographic. A lot of people who do play games on their phone are different games than when I think of gaming. I think Halo, I think Doom. You know, I think a lot of PC games generally, but a lot of people who do play on mobile play like Candy Crush. They play, if anyone still plays Temple Run, it's from a few years ago. But yeah, those kinds of games. You know, maybe they are going after those gamers. I guess my one hesitation would be those games are pretty small mobile games. You don't really need a cloud service to be able to play those kinds of games. But I do think that maybe they are, you know, trying to take that different angle to appeal to a certain type of maybe, you know, smaller puzzle gamers versus, you know, more hardcore, you know, FPS games.
And you know, Crispy just asked a question, is like, why are companies pushing so hard to streaming games? And I think that actually is rooted in the same kind of push we saw from DVDs to streaming movies at home. Is I think for the infrastructure as a whole, it's easier to stream everything. And that is maybe what their focus is trying to be. Hey, we don't have to like store all of this, you know, in one location. I think it offloads in that regard. And maybe that's where their mindset is coming from. But I'm also with the whole, like, don't force feed me something. Let me like ease into it. And that's the approach that I really like what Microsoft is doing with their cloud gaming platform, is they're just like, we got Game Pass and we got, you know, xCloud, and you'll have access to your to our a library of games here. And if you want it, it's yours. If not, cool. We're going to still make it you know what I mean? Versus like Apple's just kind of taking that kind of like strong arm approach.
That's what it feels like. I wonder if, you know, their cloud service is just going to be kind of an extension of Apple Arcade. You know, if users are, you know, likely to use that, now they don't have to download their Apple Arcade games. They can just, you know, use that library, you know, via the cloud.
Meg's comment there about Apple trying to be the Instagram of gaming. That's a really like I like how
Yeah.
that's visualized, because that would feel right, as a way to describe it.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like it's also more kind of like bite-sized gaming. It's not like you're going to sit down and play for, 6 hours on your phone. It's, maybe smaller games, maybe you go through a different library, you don't have to download anything. I wonder how many people are going to use this.
Any Apple or iPhone users in the chat, or iOS users in the chat that would like jump into cloud gaming if it was provided to you on Apple. I naturally, like me with an iPhone, I'm like, I'm not downloading that. If I can remove that, I need to be able to remove it immediately.
Right. No way. I feel like my phone memory is constantly full. I'm constantly deleting apps to make room for new ones and, trying to offload my photos. I will not be using this service, but I am curious to see if maybe others might.
Yes. And we will be looking more into this as this hopefully becomes official as we get towards October. But what is official is something very exciting, because I'm a huge fan of this series. And this is the last installment of the Hitman franchise, as it has been revealed that Hitman 3's game modes have been announced by IO.
So when Hitman 3 launches in January 2021, players will experience the dramatic conclusion to the World of Assassination trilogy. In their announcement blog post, they shared the first details about locations and ambitions for how Hitman 3 will act as a platform for the entire
And this
trilogy.
is what IO said. They said, today we are happy to confirm that Hitman 3 will feature multiple game modes, including the return of elusive targets, contracts mode, and more. And we're going to jump into these game modes and talk about them further.
So first of all, the Hitman 3 campaign mode will take you on a globe-trotting adventure to sprawling sandbox locations and will deliver a dramatic conclusion to the World of Assassination trilogy. Agent 47 returns as a ruthless professional for the most important contracts of his entire career. And when the dust settles, the world he inhabits will never be the same
Couldn't
again.
agree more. Hitman does some stealth I've never seen in any other game. It's very cool. So the mode that is elusive targets. The stakes are high, the clock is ticking. Elusive targets are the ultimate Hitman challenge, and they are designed after an exciting pulse-pounding, to offer an exciting pulse-pounding experience. You need to track down a unique target with little to no help from the HUD or instinct, and hatch a plan to eliminate them on the fly. So good luck, because in Hitman 3, they are making some changes to the elusive target formula that they're going to reveal at a later date.
And in the game mode escalations, pretty much anything goes. Expect your gameplay skills to be pushed to the max as new elements are thrown at you in each stage of the contract. Disguise restrictions, added security cameras, and other kinds of other complications will be thrown your way. You'll need to overcome them all and still manage to eliminate your targets to call your mission a success.
And then we have contracts mode, which is play to create, is at the core of contracts mode. Choose your own targets, choose how to eliminate them, and then just make it all happen. Once you've completed the contract yourself, you challenge your friends to compete for the best score on the leaderboards. And there's a powerful search tool that lets you find the exact type of contract that you want to play, and also look out for featured contracts where IO chooses the best of the best to be played by the entire community.
And the game modes still continue. The next one is called Sniper Assassin, which is dedicated to long-range assignments. Sniper Assassin tasks you with eliminating targets and guards without triggering an alarm while completing challenges to boost your score multiplier. In Hitman 3, Sniper Assassin can be played in existing maps as a single-player experience only. They're preparing to sunset the co-op servers in Hitman 2 before the launch of Hitman 3, and will share the exact timeline and solution to the mode's multiplayer trophies in the coming months.
And so Ghost Mode, which is one, if you play Hitman, you know of, which is a 1v1 competitive multiplayer that came to the franchise for the first time. And that was Ghost Mode. And their focus has actually shifted currently to other areas of the world of assassination. So Ghost Mode won't be featured in Hitman 3. And they have made the difficult decision to shut down the Ghost Mode servers for Hitman 2 on Monday, August 31st of this month. So if you haven't yet played, jump in there and play it. And they have learned a hell of a lot from Ghost Mode over the last 2 years. They'll be taking those things on board for what they do in the future with regards to multiplayer.
The company also wants to send a sincere thank you to all of the players who have enjoyed Ghost Mode over the last 2 years. They're looking forward to a few more matches online and raising a glass for Ghost Mode one final time. One other thing, the Phantom suit, which can only be unlocked by playing Ghost Mode, will be added as an unlock in Hitman 3.
I think this is awesome news. I am kind of surprised they didn't address the virtual reality thing, because they did make that announcement. That there will be a virtual reality Hitman experience coming out, which is just still kind of mind-blowing to me to hear how they're going to pull that off. What's that actually going to be like? But I'm kind of bummed about the Ghost Mode thing because I liked the aspect of having like a 1v1.
Right? Kind of a bummer that they're removing that. They're also removing, the co-op support for Hitman 2. The only thing I've seen about the VR thing so far is that it was a headline that was just like, yes, you'll be able to kill people in VR in Hitman 3. And I love how nothing else has been said about it. There's no outrage. People are just like, yeah, it's Hitman. That's the game.
That's how it goes. I'm curious if maybe they're going to take like the sniper game approach where it's maybe from that angle. But I really do hope it's like you're in the shoes of Agent 47 and you've got to go around these like specific locations and do this in VR. It'll just add so much more of an immersive element. What's up, Gumbo? I'm a huge fan of this series. I hope this is a swan song for the end of this trilogy. And I really, really do hope maybe, just maybe, we can get a Hitman experience that's going to be similar to that Legends experience coming out for Ghost of Tsushima. And if that would be something that they could figure out a way to do, please, IO Interactive, bring us that experience.
I think so too, because it seems like they're aiming for a lot of replayability. There's not only the campaign, but there's all these different, game modes that you can play to challenge yourself, to push yourself to, have the same maybe missions, but done in a totally different way, which does make me think that maybe they're going to be moving to online. I wonder if that's why they took down maybe some of the co-op servers for Hitman 2, maybe to dedicate those to, a future online experience, I think might be what they're going
and
for.
We know that it is being developed for the next gen hardware. So we know there's a lot coming with that. I would, as you say that, it gets my brain thinking on like, yeah, they're going to probably need some more server space. And they're also going to need, probably a little bit more bandwidth allotted for those online experiences, especially with the next gen. That demand is going to be a little bit high. But I think they're going to pull it off. I have not seen them like underwhelm any type of, Hitman game so far. It's always been this like steady increase of getting better and getting better and getting better. And now we're going to get a chance to experience Hitman 3 sometime next year.
Same. I've only heard, great things about Hitman in general. I believe that this is going to be, an incredible game. The trailer that we saw and, the bits of gameplay that we have seen from Hitman 3 all look great, all look phenomenal. It sounds like they're really, on top of all these different game modes, about these different features, about all the different ways to play the game. I think this is going to be a good one.
Same. But there is unfortunate news with regard to some of the games that were announced around the time that Hitman was announced coming out for the next gen. Is this game that we saw, and I remember seeing it during the showcase, and I was like, oh, wow, this looks really cool. But it was supposed to come out in holiday of this year, but it is unfortunate that Deathloop has been delayed to 2021.
Deathloop, the next game from Prey and Dishonored developer Arcane Studios, has been delayed until Q2 2021. It was previously set to arrive in time for Christmas on PlayStation 5 and PC and be a timed console exclusive for Sony's next-gen machine.
They did go ahead and put up a tweet, so we're just going to read over that tweet now. And this is what they said. They said that we've made the decision to move the launch date of Deathloop to Q2 of 2021, and it is our ambition for Deathloop to deliver a signature Arcane game that takes you to never-before-seen places in a stylish new world.
The tweet continues, at the same time, the health and safety of everyone at Arcane Lion remains our top priority. As we've adjusted to work from home, we found that delivering this new and exciting experience and the polish and quality level that defines both an Arcane game and a true next-gen experience is taking longer than normal.
This extra time will allow our team to bring Deathloop's world to life with as much character and fun as you've come to expect from our team. While we know... Sorry, go ahead.
Well, we know this is the right decision for Deathloop. We share your disappointment and apologize for making you wait even longer.
Thank you so much for your support and excitement. Your positive feedback has helped fuel us as we continue to work from the confines of our homes. We can't wait to share more details about Deathloop with you, so keep your eyes open for our next update coming soon.
So, Deathloop was first announced back at E3 2019. It's about two assassins, Colt and Juliana, caught in a time loop, fighting each other over and over again ad infinitum. They're trapped in a place which was once, it seems, a haven, but now has turned very sour. Solid details remain thin, although its trailers have been really stylish.
It has. I remember just seeing this game and getting that sense of like kind of what we've seen from some of these other titles is this, you know, this roguelite type experience where you keep repeating the same process over and over, getting better at it, and more, you know, variety is put before you. But I just love how they've like the same thing that Ratchet and Clank is doing, where they've included that element into the, you know, the experience, and that there's a story wrapped around what, you know, what you're seeing here and why this is going on.
I know some people that were super excited for this game, and it's a bummer that it's delayed, but, you know, I'm glad that they're keeping their whole team safe. I wonder if it really will be delayed until the second quarter of next year, or if it's actually going to be pushed beyond that. Right now, when I'm hearing estimates, I wonder if it's an anticipation of this whole pandemic crisis being over, or if, you know, they need this much time to work during the crisis, because I think this crisis will continue for a lot longer than, you know, a lot of people anticipate. And I hope that this does come out in 2021.
Yeah, same here. I appreciate them acknowledging something that I think is very important, which is that a true next-gen game should feel that way. And, you know, it would be extremely unfortunate, kind of like what we saw with Halo's, you know, display of that moment with the brute that's been memed, is that you don't want to put out a game that everyone is expecting looks next gen or plays next gen, but then when you sit down with it and you look at it, you're like, this looks previous gen. You really want to avoid that. And I give them credit for kind of like acknowledging that in the tweet.
Me too. I really do want to experience a next-gen title if I'm going to play a next-gen game. If it's not going to take advantage of next-gen hardware or whatever, then just, you know, release it for a normal machine or the current-gen machines. I really hope that, you know, we're going to be seeing this game soon. I hope we also get more details, because it seems that currently there's still just a lot of guesswork on what this game actually is about and, you know, how it's actually really
going to play. For sure. I'd love to know more. Hey, thank you so much, Kai, for the tip. We really appreciate it. Information about games like this, they just feel, you know, so small right now. And I think it might have been something they were even aware of, like, hey, we might delay. Let's not give too much information now, because it does kind of like sour the wait, where you're like, oh, I heard all this cool stuff for this game, and now I got to wait longer for the game. Man, I'm too bummed.
But something that a game that we know a lot about, that we're hearing even more about, is Call of Duty Warzone, as we've got some more news.
There is a broken gun in this game, and when I saw Husker's video of him using this thing, I was like, let me try it out. I cannot believe this didn't get caught. It's ridiculous. This is like sniping with a shotgun. It's so stupid how devastating this thing is. Yeah.
Oh geez. Is it called the FAMAS? FAMAS?
Yeah. So yeah, you said it right. Yeah. So a FAMAS is the rifle in the game. They call it the FR556, I believe. It's a 3-round burst gun. It's usually a pretty devastating gun. They buffed it recently. But it was meant to just buff the gun itself, but it actually buffed the attachment, which is a shotgun underbarrel attachment. And gonna throw up a clip of Huskers destroying people with this. And trust me, you see people running around with this gun. I think they've already hotfixed it, or it's coming out pretty soon. But if you see somebody with what looks like a FAMAS, stay away from them. You need about a good 20 to 30 meters of distance.
Oh my God. So the Infinity Ward Twitter account posted Monday evening that they've identified the issue with the FR556 and are currently working on a fix. They said they'll share more details as they become available, but as of now, that fix is still not live, of course, but hopefully it will be resolved as a server-side fix or full client patch. Coming soon, because this is just out of hand.
This is pretty ridiculous. So the FR556 isn't insanely lethal on its own, and that's true. You could throw some stopping power rounds in there. It's pretty devastating. But this situation with this rifle goes horribly wrong, because once you throw the gun, the 12 gauge deputy underbarrel on that gun, you've become a monster. Because as we can see in these clips, you one-shot down them, you one-shot kill them. It's so fast, and you can take out an entire person's armor and health from as much as 15 meters away with this underbarrel.
The glitch has yet to be officially explained by Infinity Ward, but many players believe it has something to do with the slight distance buff that FAMAS received at the start of Season 5 earlier this month. The patch is documented to increase the effective damage range for the FR556, which some believe is inadvertently doubled when the aforementioned underbarrel is added to it.
So what we need to understand is that for the FAMAS itself in Warzone specifically, you only have about 8 shots with the attachment before you have to give something up. But if you have a munitions box, you can throw that down on the ground, refill that shotgun, and you have another 8 rounds to go. So theoretically, you could take out 2 full quads with that one gun on your own if you were able to hit every shot.
That's just wild, and this isn't the first time in Modern Warfare's year-long history that an OP weapon had to be toned down by the game's developers. At launch, the infamous 725 shotgun was shredding through players at decent range months before Warzone made its surprise debut. More recently, many fans agreed that the MP5, M4, and Grau remain unfair contenders in the current meta. Some people even call Warzone Grauzone. So while those guns tend to be more in the OP category, the FAMAS is just straight up broken, in the current season.
Yeah, I actually want to run this clip back that you just saw here real quick, only just because I think it's really important to note. Just blast that dude down. He's gone. It just was like, hey, God, we were fighting.
That's so
you've
quick.
Lost. And then it's just like, hey, you're also gone. We're done. And then he comes out here up to this rooftop only to do it yet again, it seems. Right? No, that was the one before. If you have this capability, the fact that they didn't discover this is also another moment where I kind of like thumb my nose at Infinity Ward, because this is something that shouldn't be in the game. I mean, this is like a very easy, like, oh, hey, we buffed. Let's test everything that attaches with the gun when you make the buff, because that's what you do with a checklist when you do QA testing. But it just doesn't seem like they decided to do that.
Not at all, and the game can't even keep up with the amount of kills that Husky is getting. I mean, you saw the triple kill thing maybe a full few seconds, after they actually got the triple kill. It makes me always think that Infinity Ward is just trolling their players, that they release these OP weapons because it makes good content, because right now we're talking about Warzone because, it's broken. Like, if it's some sneaky marketing strategy, like, hats off to them because it's working. As to what this means for players, I think this really just highlights how Warzone can't really be an e-sport because it's just so broken all the time. I mean, I haven't heard anything more about, Call of Duty, Warzone weekends. I don't know if they've stopped those or people just haven't been paying attention to them, because you can't play this game in a competitive way.
I also find it unfortunate that we have a lot of these top streamers like Huskers and like Symphony and like, Nick Merckx. They'll use this to show it off in game. And part of that is like, now you're just going to see everyone doing it. I mean, the moment one of these individuals has this type of OP loadout and they show it off, you see it everywhere. And yesterday I could notice as the hours went on of playing it, the more I saw it, which is only in my head, like the more people began to learn about it, that this was a thing. And I was like, I'm just going to sit back with my FAL and my sniper and just shoot you guys from like really long distances. I'm not trying to get close to anybody. No hugs for me in Warzone.
Right. No, not at all. This is probably why I'm not, top tier at some of these games, is because sometimes I refuse to play the meta. I'm like, I don't care what's most OP. Like, I like this weapon, so I'm using this weapon.
Yeah.
But I know that streamers are, trendsetters. And if there are streamers, with a certain loadout, that's going to catch on. That's going to be the new meta. Everyone's going to be just abusing this until, it
Yeah,
gets
which
fixed.
I really hope Infinity Ward is being truthful when they say, we're going to patch it. We know what's going on. We've got it. Don't worry, guys. Because seriously, there was a moment where I stunned somebody yesterday. And even while they're stunned, it's supposed to be very difficult for them to move. They just unleashed the FAMAS shotgun rounds. And I was like, just wiped out right away. And I'm like, man, that is that is so unfortunate that thing exists.
You're like, that one's great. Oh,
that feels good.
That makes me enjoy playing this game. I love that.
Exactly. I think I was like, do I want to get off right now? Maybe I do. Maybe I do.
Yeah, do I want to Alta 4?
See you guys later.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
See ya.
Is there a comment about T-Pain? Was T-Pain playing Warzone?
Did you guys see T-Pain?
I wasn't sure. T-Pain's is dummy huge. I don't know if that was
I don't know. Did he
win.
use the gun? I wouldn't doubt it. Seriously, if you're not that good and you haven't gotten a win, this gun could get you a win. I'm not gonna lie. If you could survive the final circle, you can just have a munitions box on you, give yourself a solid 16 rounds with that underbarrel attachment, and maybe try to go out there and grab some dubs. Because that thing is crazy. It is like you're sniping with buckshot, which just shouldn't be possible.
Yeah. No. So take that pro tip. Get all your gaming exploits here at DGN.
Oh man! But jumping into our next story is one that I think we're going to see more and more of this topic surrounding these different studios, and I feel like we just kind of got to start embracing that,
We really do. What's up, King James?
Hey, King James, welcome.
So, following, the Ubisoft, people being fired over harassment over there, the gaming Me Too movement, we actually, are referencing an article from PC Gamer that says Rocksteady reacts to staff harassment claims. And this is actually, a story from 2 years ago that is continuing on until
So
today.
here we go. It's reportedly that the company tried to remedy with its hour-long seminar that one of those individuals who remains anonymous passed a letter to The Guardian claiming that the culture at Rocksteady has not changed since those years. And the signatory pointed out that Rocksteady's output as an indication of the problematic attitudes are still present within the studio.
So in 2018, more than half of the women working at the studio signed a letter describing a pattern of misogynistic harassment, including claims of groping, unwanted advances, slurs regarding the transgender community, and inappropriate comments in the office. And again, this is more than half of the women working at Rocksteady.
Yeah, and The Guardian decided to do some inquiries, and this actually seemed to trigger a moment of introspection for Rocksteady, which often tends to happen when internal company problems are about to go very public.
So this, this story is also not just about, the inappropriate comments, but it also extends to the hypersexualized design of women in the Arkham games, notably Catwoman, Poison Ivy, and Harley Quinn. The comments resurrect a debate that took place in the launch of Arkham City when critics highlighted the gendered insults of male NPCs towards Catwoman. And in response to the Guardian's story, Rocksteady offered the following comment. They said, over the subsequent 2 years, we have carefully listened to and learned from our employees, working to ensure every person on the team feels supported. In 2020, we are more passionate than ever to continue to develop our inclusive culture, and we are determined to stand up for all of our staff.
Hey, Paulie, welcome to the GGN fam. Thank you so much for the follow. So, continuing with the story is that this arrives amid the storm over at Ubisoft that has seen many top figures booted from the company over claims of sexual misconduct. Comments saying that gaming is having a quote-unquote Me Too movement seems reductive, but going public with concerns like this ought to encourage other developers and publishers to hold themselves to account, knowing that in 2020, not everything that happens inside a studio stays inside the studio.
This is very relevant to something I said yesterday when we were talking about Assassin's Creed and, the Ubisoft creative director that got outed. Was I expressed some concern that some companies, when they hear about these complaints, all they do is just like hold a couple seminars, and that's their official way of addressing the issue. Similarly, Rocksteady had a 1 hour long seminar in response to more than half of their women, coming out with complaints against the company, and they were like, oh, well, this hasn't really changed anything. And it's like, you think that wouldn't change anything?
Yeah, an hour-long seminar is not going to change a systemic problem amongst the individuals in charge who think that this way of being and treating women or transgendered individuals or anybody that is, different as they see different. This is the kind of behavior that, like we've talked about continually, that it needs to get weeded out. And I'm glad it's finally getting weeded out, because hopefully as we evolve from this will be a thing of the past that we look back on and be like, hey, remember in gaming when we had a lot of these like chauvinistic pigs who treated women the way they did? Yeah, I know. It really sucks that was a thing. Yeah, it was. Good thing it's gone.
I hope that's what future discussions on this show will be like. Like, on this day in gaming, we officially ended, all the sexism that occurred. I think it's also really telling that, some of these signatories mentioned the hypersexualized design of women in the games, because so often people point out, like Catwoman in the Arkham games, and like, oh, well, Catwoman's like all sexy, and a lot of the women developers are like, yes, and we don't like how she is portrayed. I think it's possible to, have, sexuality with characters in games, but there is a point where it just becomes very strange and degrading and just like weird. There's a like Misfortune's animation in League of Legends, like the way she walks, you're like, no one has ever walked like that in the history of, humans, not even on a runway. I think it's possible, to have sexuality in characters, to have characters in skimpy clothes, even in a way that's not just like weird and degrading. And I thought it was notable that some of the developers, flagged, the animations and the designs of those characters specifically, because I hear so often that it's just like, oh, that's just how video games are. And even the developers are like, we don't want this.
I mean, that's the part for me that I think I've always kind of had this weird, like, when I was younger and I was a kid and I was like, ooh, sexy ladies, oh my God, as like you normally are when you're going through those, stages. Right. As you get older, you're kind of like, as Kai was just putting, this makes no sense. The armor's just literally around the chest and the groin, and everything else is just exposed. Wouldn't she be wearing the same kind of armor? Maybe light armor, I guess. Like, those things start to rack around your brain that you're like, oh, wow. Okay. I see what everyone is acknowledging. I'm also in now the place of like, why aren't the individuals who are being quote unquote, visualized in this manner, aren't they the ones making the commentary of if this should go through or not? Like, there should be a test audience, specifically with these types of people. Like, hey, do you approve of this? No, we don't. Cool, let's change it.
Yeah, and we're like living in this like upside down world with, the E3 tweet that I saw a great, summary of that. That's like, oh, E3 was canceled for the second time this year. Because, some of you have been following that earlier today. They tweeted about like games for women. And this is from E3. And they're talking about solitaire and Sudoku and like a Kim Kardashian game and like dating sim games. And I noticed the article was written by a woman as well. And just kind of this like weird lens of like, why don't you just ask women what they want? Because they'll tell you and then you'll get data. Like, as you said, like, why not have like a woman audience be like, hey, like we're portraying you in this game. Do you want this? And if they say no, then don't put it in the game.
When you say that out loud, I'm like, man, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that's the way anybody should do. Wait, what? Why are these big places and companies that are making these things not doing these things?
Yeah, and it's not just women, it's also a lot of, men. There are a lot of men that think this is weird.
Yeah. Well, you can also see it on the opposite end of sometimes you'll see male figures in games like portrayed in this very like sexual manner or whatever. I mean, there are definitely moments where like you look at The Witcher 3 and you go like Geralt's being very much portrayed in the same way that the women are, which I'm like, cool, great, it's across the board. But if the women were like not portrayed in the same way, and it was just Geralt walking around being that way, it could have like that really odd experience of being like, why are they like overly sexualizing this dude right now? Like, either do it across the board or don't do it at all and just treat it based on its, realism.
And a great portrayal of how insane, it kind of is there's this one tweet, which I'll have to find later, but someone modded one of the Arkham games to give Batman the animation of Catwoman.
And he's like slinking around. Yes.
It's so good. It's amazing. And a lot of the comments are like, I would actually want to see Batman like this. Like, I want like a Batman game or mission, where he actually has that animation, just to show how extreme it is. Because, sometimes when you always see it, you forget how extreme it is, or it doesn't quite, it just becomes so normalized. But I hate that, it seems the culture hasn't really changed at Rocksteady, but I'm glad that this story is continuing, again, to companies fighting the good fight, to, the good people at Rocksteady, fighting for a change, like continue fighting the good fight. I hope to see, some actual consequences.
We'll be keeping our eye on that. Maybe we'll hear some shakeups happen at Rocksteady like they do over at Ubisoft. But we got a couple of stories to get through before the end of the DGN News Hour, which is talking about the upcoming Horizon Zero Dawn patch for PC.
So Horizon Zero Dawn on PC is generally very good, great game, absolutely amazing, unless you happen to be one of the very, very many people who have run into the technical and performance issues that have plagued the game since launch. The game runs okay for some, but other reviewers have experienced issues with stuttering, wonky frame rates when they try the game at 4K, even with a great CPU and a 2080 Ti graphics card. It seems like this game is very buggy on PC.
Yeah, because Guerrilla Games had to come out and say on Steam shortly after its launch that it was well aware of the problems and was investigating them. And they followed up on Twitter a few days later saying they are still working hard to address these issues with Horizon Zero Dawn's Complete Edition for PC that have affected some of you since launch.
So Friday had a 1.01 patch that addresses several issues with the game, including one that could prevent saving. It's a fairly small update, and Guerrilla said it's still working to fix a number of other high priority issues, including
some players were experiencing startup crashes, and this new patch will fix a few, but not all of these crashes.
Some players are experiencing GPU-related hangs during gameplay. The improved diagnostic data collection added in patch 101 is aimed at making it easier to track these down.
Some players are even experiencing graphical setting issues, such as anisotropic filtering not working, and 4K not displaying correctly, or HDR not working correctly.
And some players are experiencing performance issues on specific GPUs or hardware combinations.
Those are on top of an already known problems with the game, including that anisotropic filtering settings that don't work, stuttering at various points, animations that are locked at 30 frames, and a problem with the shader compilation process that causes crashes when hard drive space is low.
That sounds like a lot. That's a lot of bugs. So Guerrilla asked that users experiencing problems with the game continue to report them, but the studio also said, although we're not able to get back to every report, because I don't know, like, you're going to report all these bugs, who knows if they're actually going to address them, but they said that we sincerely appreciate the continued support from our community. We care deeply about creating an enjoyable experience for everyone playing Horizon Zero Dawn, and we will continue to work on further enhancements based on your feedback.
Yeah, I feel bad for people who were like, Horizon Zero Dawn on PC, and then they started playing it and they were like, what is happening to my PC?
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about when console games don't necessarily work well on PC, and everyone goes like, nah, like they work fine. No, they don't. Yeah. Like, prime example right here, Horizon Zero Dawn, phenomenal game, fantastic, critically acclaimed, loved by many. And it's just, if you can't save the game, if it crashes on startup, if it crashes if your disk space is too low, if 4K isn't working, it seems kind of a disaster. Hopefully, at least it's, okay enough to be playable. Yeah. I personally am generally okay with a few crashes here and there. But if it's too much, it does, ruin the playing experience.
It does. And some of these bugs you were saying, like, this is very buggy. It feels like some of these bugs are cause for delay. Game crashes like that, you probably don't know about until the game's out and people are, playing with it as frequently as they are, and you know all the different types of PCs that are trying to handle the game, and it ends up having the crash reports come in. But these are some of those kind of situations that could really just turn people off and just warn others like, hey, don't touch this game right now. It needs a few more patches before you might be middle of a match or middle of a fight and crash. And next thing you know, you got to either start back over. Maybe it corrupts your save file. I don't know. There's just a lot with it that is just, it's worrisome right now.
It is. I'm glad it came out for PC. I wonder how thorough that testing process is. I assumed they tested it thoroughly or, tried to optimize this game for PC. I don't know, what exactly went wrong. Maybe they jumped the gun a little bit here. Or maybe there's just a lot of stuff that they didn't anticipate, especially as, technology gets more and more advanced. Maybe there's a wider range of, the kinds of PCs or the kinds of hardware people have. I don't know. Maybe there's more variation there. I'm glad that they're addressing this. I wonder how long it's going to take to get all, complete, because this 101 patch was, supposed to be kind of a small patch to quick fix some things, but it seems like there's a lot of work that needs to be done.
I would say the video we're watching right now is like the game on max settings on PC, and it looks beautiful. I mean, the game looks gorgeous. So obviously if you have a rig that can handle this, you're having an amazing experience with this game. But for some people, they're just like, maybe either don't have enough RAM, maybe their GPU's just not up to snuff, maybe they're having just the crash issues because there might be something going on within, their CPU. There's just all these variables that are there that I'm sure these top tier PC players aren't really worried about. But then you have the rest of, I would say, the population of PC players that have to deal with these potential issues, being from I want to play this game at max settings because that's the reason why I'm playing this on PC and, not on console. I want to get that full-fledged experience, but I can't. And I should be able to access that.
Right. And I wonder how much of this might be user error. Maybe some people don't have their drivers updated or there's something wrong on their end. I know usually for, powerful games like this one, there's, a recommended set of, what are the specs that you should have, how much disk space should you have available to play this game, et cetera, et cetera. And if all these users reporting issues are adhering to those or maybe not, maybe that's also an element there. Hopefully, I don't want it to be on the user side, but I hope the game works well and, it's something on their end that can be fixed, versus just, waiting around for this game to, hopefully be even more.
Yeah, because anything I'm taking away from this maxed out version of the PC edition of this game is a glimpse into what PlayStation 5 is probably going to feel like or visually, knowing that there will be, more with it. And it is very promising for what some of these experiences are going to be like when we jump to PlayStation 5. And one thing you can take away from this is probably not going to have these crashes like we have them with PCs, with these games that are being specifically designed for these hardwares. It is unfortunate. I do want to believe that it will be patched up fairly soon. But honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, here are some more bugs that happen after these bugs have been fixed.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either, unintentional or not. This seems like a good, marketing message to just buy the console of like, hey, you can get a taste of this game on the PC, but it's not the same as actually playing it on the console and it doesn't work as well. So, hey, buy a console.
All you top developers and distributors and PlayStations and Xbox executives, you better be listening right here. You have your chance to market your next gen off of these experiences. I love that. I think that'd be great if we start seeing that as a marketing ploy.
Right, I hope so. But that does bring us to the end of Daily Gaming News for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Tomorrow, we're going to get into some announcements that happened on today's Nintendo Indie World Showcase, but we'll go over those games.
Yeah, that's going to be exciting because that showcase was really cool. It's like a 20-minute video. We might sit down and do a watch and react over the whole thing. So make sure to tune in. And don't forget, if you are watching us live, you can check out all of our VODs. We have a YouTube channel as well, so you can make sure to check previous episodes. But then also, if you're watching it on VOD. You can check us out live from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. That's Monday through Friday, and that's Pacific Standard Time.
And if you type !mailbag in our Twitch chat, you'll get a link for a form where you can submit suggestions, queries, questions, anything you want us to talk about, or things you want us to
Yes,
cover.
and thank you so much for the new follows and new members of the DGN family, the donations, the likes, the subscribes, all of you beautiful human beings. Thank you so much for supporting us. This isn't possible without you. We really do appreciate you.
But thank you so much for joining us today on August 18th. I am
Marrone, and if you didn't get to hear the new theme song for DGN as well as the new intro, we will be signing out with that. So make sure to check it out here. We will see you all tomorrow.
See ya.